The cups are, do you know what this stage is?
This?
Nope. Where it's still kind of soft. One more after that. It's still somewhat flexible, but you can't poke your finger through it. It's called leather hard.
Right.
Okay, so this is when you do like you add handles, or when we get to bowls, this is the stage where you'll trim the bottom and you'll remove material to make it lighter and even all the way around. But this is when I can start working on it again. Okay, on the bottom here you can see when the wire kind of left this kind of jagged edge on the bottom. What I can do is I can just take my cup, and I usually do this before like if I'm doing handles and if I'm adding them to the cup the same day, I'll do this first, or maybe I'll do it after I do the handles, and then I'll go do something else while the handles are drying, and I'll put the handles on. I usually make the handles and put them on the same day, but the short classes don't really lend themselves to that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of set my hand on the top of it and just kind of roll the piece, and I'm not pressing down. You can see I'm not doing it slowly. I'm not really trying to press it down. I'm just kind of rolling it. I'm just kind of using the shape of the foot to roll. And what that does is it kind of rounds the bottom off. And you just kind of tap it a little bit just to make it concave. That way when it dries and shrinks, sometimes this will kind of go this way, and if that goes that way, then you have this kind of like wobbly cup. So you want to kind of pat it in a little bit. And I just do that with all the cups that I'm making. And like anything that I'm not trimming, this is what I do to it before I put the handle on it. So again, I'm not really pushing it down, I'm just using the weight of the piece to smash that kind of jagged edge down. You want to use something that doesn't have any texture on it and make sure it's somewhat clean so that you don't damage the foot. Okay, so I'm going to grab one of these handles. I don't know which handles I made when, but just have to sort of guess here. These seem like they're the firmest handles. I just really need one for this first cup, and then I'm going to do a slightly different handle for the second cup. Keep your handles covered up. You want them to stay nice and soft. You don't want them to get too hard. Okay, so this particular handle, I'm choosing it for no other reason than it just sort of feels like it's sort of like the right size for this piece. I formed it already to the shape before I started letting it dry, all the way at least. Now I need to sort of get the handle ready to attach. This is like too much clay right here. I don't need that clay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it off. I could cut it off straight like this, but the handle attachments that I like to do usually have some shape to them. Actually, let me just do a couple different solutions to attaching a handle. So I could cut it off like straight, okay, and that would come off straight from the cup, and that's not a horrible shape. I'm going to do something kind of straight off of this cup. So for this cup, I'm going to do something a little different. If I want it to attach really well, I could kind of remove a little clay out of there, just kind of like make it round. If I want it to come up at a slight angle, I can kind of hold it up kind of behind the cup and like keep one eye open and kind of look at it and see what the angle is, and then maybe just kind of mark that with your fingernail, okay? And then you can get like that kind of diagonal on there. Some people cut it the wrong angle and their handle kind of shoots down. That's fine. I prefer my handles to kind of move up a little bit. Okay, my handles, like I said, I like to have them have a little bit of shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold on to the blade. I'm going to cut it in a round. Okay. And sometimes it works better than others, and if it doesn't look all that great, I'll sometimes kind of go back and cut it again. So it's kind of roundish. I want this to come off at a pretty sharp angle. I want it to come off like that. Right now I have all that bulk there, so I need to get rid of that bulk. And it's on the side that's attached to the clay. this isn't a very sharp knife, so this is a little difficult. And then I just kind of support on the other side, kind of like I'm cutting a, I don't know. Yeah, cutting a fruit, a strawberry. I'm just going to remove that excess clay, and I kind of go back through. This knife isn't very as sharp as what I'm used to, so didn't cut it exactly how I wanted it. But I can go back through and I can kind of pinch that clay out just to thin it out and make it nice and even. And it's just a slight pinch. I'm not really really squeezing it down. And you can see it doesn't. It's not very round anymore, so I'm just going to kind of go through and re-round it. Okay, make sure it's somewhat even. And then I kind of make all the little, I just kind of pinch it just a little bit just to kind of make the edge a little bit nicer. Now I need to get it ready to attach. Okay, so on this side, I need to score it. And this is a serrated rib. It's the rib that does the opposite of smoothing. It's the metal rib with the teeth on it. Actually, you can use it for smoothing, but it's not something I'm going to get into right now. Okay, I'm going to rough it up a lot. Okay, I'm not just kind of gently kind of petting the surface with this tool. I'm really kind of getting in there and scoring it. Then I can either take slip, like from throwing, or like what I like to do so that I don't have to make sure that I have throwing slip available. Just dip your tool in the water, put a couple drops of water on there, and then score it again. And that'll create slip on the surface. So if you want to do this on both the top and the bottom, if you have it the right size, you can do it on both the top and the bottom. I don't know exactly where I want to cut this yet, so I'm going to just wait on that one. Now, I'm going to try to figure out where on this cup I want to put the handle attachment. Now, some people, what they'll do is they'll look at the cup and they're like, oh, well there's a part that I bumped it, and so I'm just going to cover that up and I'll just score it. That's totally valid. I'm kind of particular about where I like my handles to go. I like for it to go right, see how it kind of looks like it's kind of scalloped on the bottom? Like right where the wire leaves is right here, and I like to have it right above where the wire leaves. For whatever reason, it's just something that I've done for a really long time, and I just kind of make sure that I do that on everything that I make, just for consistency's sake. So now, again, you don't just kind of pet the surface. I'm really kind of scoring it. You can put your handle on the surface and trace it, but you can also, I kind of know how much, what size of a thing I need to have on there. And it doesn't need to be exactly just most of the surface. It can be a little bit smaller. That's fine. And then I'm going to score the bottom. And on the bottom, this is where I'm actually going to do the slip. On other handles, I'll do the slip on both of these attachments, but you just want it on one attachment. You don't want to have it on both. It's too slippery on both. Plus, what will happen is, what you want to happen is this is wetter than that, and this side will pull the water from this side, and it'll actually help kind of stick it together. So now I'll just take this, I'll place it on the attachment, and kind of squeeze between my fingers here. Hopefully this handle hasn't gotten too dry over the course of the week. And I'm just kind of lightly, just kind of squeezing it on there. Not lightly, I guess. I'm just evenly squeezing it on there. I'm trying not to smash it, but I'm also making sure that that connection kind of goes together like Velcro. Okay. I'll just kind of let you look at it. Okay. You can see that there's some errant scoring marks on there. That's fine. We'll deal with those in a minute. Okay, now I kind of place it just kind of on my belly. That's one good thing a belly is for, I guess. And then I'm just going to kind of just gently shape my handle so that it's the shape that I'm looking for. And I don't want it to stick out too far for my handles. I like them to be somewhat close to the piece. And I like for there to be a little bit of almost a straight spot so that my fingers aren't getting smashed into a tight space. And I just want it to be kind of a nice curve. Okay, I'm going to place, getting some cracks on the top. So you want to try to get your handles on there when they're pretty soft so they don't crack when you're trying to bend them. Okay, so you notice I didn't score this side on this part of the handle. It's okay if your handle is still pretty soft, which this is. I can smash it into that scoring and it'll be fine. So now I'm going to cut the round out of the bottom. These knives are not sharp enough. What do you do? Gotta use what you got here, I guess. Okay, so I just kind of cut it round. And then I'm going to support on the inside of the clay as I kind of round that off. And I could just kind of smash it down like that, or the way that I like to do is I just take my thumb and I have my finger on the inside of the clay. I'm going to smash that together. Okay, and so you can see it damaged. It kind of like made it a little bit oblong, but I'll just kind of move the rim around a little bit. You can actually, these are actually really good for these yogurt cups. You can take a yogurt cup. Oh, this is a little bit too big for a yogurt cup. Sometimes you can take a yogurt cup and just kind of stick the yogurt cup in there and it'll make it round again. I'll look around and see if I can find something. Okay, not quite done yet. Now what I'm going to do is find one of these brushes. This is has a nice springy bristle on it. And I'm going to get it just slightly damp. And then I'm going to go around. I'm not trying to add water to it. What I'm trying to do is, you remember those score marks, those errant score marks? I'm just going to kind of go around and just smooth those out with this paintbrush. Just kind of smooth everything down. Once it gets a little bit clogged, you can dip it in the water again. Okay. Make sure I have a good angle. Hopefully everything's straight up and down. And that is a handle. Okay. Make sure it fits. You want to make sure that your handle, it does not fit your fingers perfectly at this point. You want to give yourself at least an extra half finger space this way. I usually do a full finger and an extra half finger space this way. Okay. If you don't give yourself extra space, the clay shrinks. If the clay shrinks too much, it'll smash your fingers when it's done firing. The clay is probably going to shrink from the time you throw it till it's finished, maybe 10–11%. This clay's on the low end of shrinking. My porcelain shrinks about 15%. I've had porcelain shrink up to 20%. So you make a big thing like this and it ends up being like this big. It's a little ridiculous, but yeah, so give yourself a little extra space in the handle. And then if the handle is nice and kind of leather hard as well, you can kind of like, just lightly kind of feel how that feels with your fingers. If it feels like it's kind of smashing into a small space, then you might just want to revise the shape of your handle, at least if not this one, maybe the next one. Okay, so I'm going to, one thing left I'm going to do. I got our stamps out, by the way. Where's my stamp? I'm just going to use this one. And I'm just going to stamp it right on the foot, right below the handle here. You can add a little piece of clay, or what I'm going to do, oops, that squished a little bit too much there. Okay. So I just kind of took a little chunk out of the foot, that's fine. It kind of breaks that line up. I didn't mean to put it quite that high. I meant to do it like right on the foot. But it'll be okay. Make sure it's flat. And that's that. And so I'm just going to let it rest upside down, and I'll dry it with a plastic over the top of it for a little while, and then we'll take the plastic off a little bit later.